And we are live. Welcome, mystery and thriller fans. I'm your on-air host, Sara DiVello, and I am so excited to welcome tonight the incredible New York Times bestselling author B.A. Shapiro, here to give us the inside scoop in this very special pre-launch event on her brand new red-hot book out tomorrow, Metropolis. Barbara, welcome to Mystery and Thriller Mavens. Tell us about this book.
Well, it's a little bit different from my last three books, which were art, thriller, historical mysteries. And I decided that I was going to write a book. I've been doing all these multi-character, multi-time frame books. I said, no, I'm going to write a book that's set in Boston, where I live. And it's going to have one main character, and it is going to have one main plot, and it's not going to jump around in time. And it didn't really work out that way, because Metropolis, it does take place in Boston, and it does take place in the present, which I really wanted to do. But it has 6 viewpoint characters. It has, I don't know, 6, 7, 8, maybe 10 different plots. And it was a lot to juggle. So I have 6 different characters, and they're Black, they're white, they're brown, they're rich, they're poor, they're gay, they're straight. And they come from all walks of life, all different socioeconomic levels. And the only thing they have in common is they each have something that connects them to a self-storage facility in Cambridge, right across from MIT, where an event happens that might be attempted suicide, might be attempted murder, might be an accident. And so each of them have their own secrets and their own issues, and they all get pulled in by what exactly happened when somebody fell down the elevator shaft of the Metropolis self-storage facility.
Ooh, well, I can't wait to get into every delicious detail, Barbara, and we're gonna do a deep dive. But first, I just want to welcome everyone. So we are broadcasting live to 6 different destinations across Facebook and YouTube. So we have people watching everywhere. So no matter where you're watching from, you're in the right place. This is the right time, and it is time for Mystery Monday, because Mondays can be murder. So if you've been here before, you know how it works. This is your chance to ask our featured author anything. So ask Barbara about her 9 books. Ask her about her writing process, her interest in storage facilities. Is she a Storage Wars fan? We don't know. We're going to get all the scoop. So Darla joining us live, saying good evening from Portland, Oregon. Darla, welcome to the conversation. So great to have you. Melissa Watson joining us live from Australia. Melissa, welcome to the conversation. Great to have you. Judy Ginsburg joining us live from Florida. Hi, Judy. She says hello to my favorite people.
Hey,
Anissa Joy Armstrong says hello, and Sarah and B.A. from Greenville, South Carolina. What a wonderfully eclectic group we have. I can't wait to chat with everyone. Lynn saying good evening from Philadelphia, my hometown. Hi, Lynn. Welcome, fellow Philly girl here. Great to have you. So let us know what questions you have for Barbara. I know I have so many, but it always takes, sometimes we all need a minute to think of our questions. So get them going in the comments, and I will kick off with some of the amazing praise that this book is earning. So first, from New York Times bestselling author Tess Gerritsen, she says Metropolis has all of the elements I love in a novel: fascinating characters, a pace that crackles with tension, and a deeper message that will resonate with everyone. Once again, B.A. Shapiro weaves a unique and riveting tale. First of all, congratulations on that hashtag goals praise there from Tess Gerritsen. And Barbara, let's talk about all of this. So let's start with the fascinating characters. So as someone who holds a PhD and has a diverse interest in diversity in sociology, how do you weave these fascinating characters and make them so real, relatable, to create this, quote, unique and riveting tale?
Well, I had always wanted to write a book with an ensemble cast
Mm.
characters who, because of because of a moment in time, because of an event, that were drawn together when they never would have ever crossed paths. And I was looking for a place for that to happen, and I was looking for a way for that to happen. And I had this idea going on in my head for about 30 years. And I also wanted to write a book about, I'm a sociologist. I have a PhD in sociology, and I've always been very interested in class in America. So I wanted to write a book about class. I wanted to write an ensemble cast. I also was really interested in street photography. I saw this video of Vivian Maier and was just blown away. And I couldn't ever get these ideas together until one day I read an article in the Boston Globe about this self-storage facility in Cambridge, and there were pictures of it, and all these people were moving in and out, and they had all kinds of really strange things. And I thought, perfect. This is a way I can bring all of these elements that I wanted to bring in. So, of course, one of the characters is a street photographer, and he lives in his unit because he's homeless. Another one is a woman who is very, very wealthy. She has an abusive husband, and she ends up leaving, the penthouse of one of the most expensive high rises in Boston. And she too lives in her unit. There's the guy who owns it, who's an ex-drug dealer. And when this accident happens, he loses control of the building, and the IRS is on his tail. And then there's another woman who is a graduate student in sociology at Tufts, where I went, and is studying class in America. And she has been through a series of things that weren't her fault. She is hiding from ICE in her unit while she is writing her doctoral dissertation.
Mm. I love that. So not only are you writing about all of these issues which fascinate you, from art, from street photography to class in America, but you're also, then there's this other level of it, might we say meta, where one of the characters is actually studying these. One guy is an artist, one character is studying class. So there's sort of this additional layer upon layer. I love that. Andrea saying, I love your books and I can't wait to read this one. Andrea, thank you for joining the conversation. So great to hear that. Judy would like to know, great question. Did you actually explore storage units? Did you find anything interesting or gross? I need to know.
Well, I didn't actually go to see storage units myself, but there is a TV show, and I don't know whether it's what exactly it's called, but it is about people coming into storage units.
Yeah, Storage Wars, right?
Storage Wars, right? That's what it's called. So I watched a few episodes from that, and it was really quite hysterical. And I was so taken with it that actually is the first scene of Metropolis, where the building has been taken away from our hero, Zach, and he's standing there watching all of these empty units being sold, like in the Storage Wars. And he sees all of these strange things and starts to wonder about what happened in this building. And then we go back, because I couldn't stop. I had to switch sometime. Then we go back 4 months to find out how everything happened.
So let's pause here. Judy, thank you for the great question. Barbara, thank you for the great answer. Let's pause here on Storage Wars, because I have a friend who is a devoted fan of that show.
Yeah.
And she watches it on her day off. So she works at the Louis Vuitton store in the Copley Mall in Boston. And on her day off, she watches Storage Wars and then some other really tasty reality television. So she was sharing that what happens on the show, which is a reality TV show, is actually exactly what happens in the opening scene of your book, where they open the door, you stick your head in, but you can't look at any of the boxes. You can't open them. And then you have to bid on what might be in them. So there might be old papers or just, junk, but there might be a treasure. And I was so fascinated I've never seen the show, but I was fascinated to read the scene in your book, because I started thinking, how could you possibly bid? I mean, it's gambling, isn't it? I mean,
yeah, it is gambling.
And then you're reading, as your characters is watching, he's thinking, I don't know what these people have been doing. I don't know what they've been storing. He's the head of the Metropolis, but he then starts to wonder and sees a picture of himself. Dun dun dun. So very, very interesting. Good question. So Lynn is saying, is it I was wondering this as well, because Barbara, you have characters living in these storage units, which are not meant to be lived in. They are meant to be stored stuff in. So she's wondering, let's get into the details. What about water? What about bathroom? What about heating? I mean, how do you live in a storage unit? Yeah,
well, it's not easy. It's not something you do unless you're under pressure to do it. But a lot of storage units, so this is unusual because it's a building that has units and it's 5 floors of units. It's not like what is off, that you see on the, along the highways that are garage doors. So these are actually places that have doors in a building that has bathrooms. And a lot of times the things that are stored in these units have to be climate controlled. Because, you might have, expensive wine, you might have art, you might have, instruments. So a lot of them have heat and air conditioning because that's what you need to keep your things safe. In Metropolis, what I did is there are bathrooms on every other floor, but there is, and I made this up, there is a custodian's room that happens to have a shower in it. So Rose, who is the manager of the building, who is taking kickbacks from the people who are living there, gives them the key to the custodian's closet, and that's where they can go after a certain time and take showers. So I kind of created that. And Liddy, the one who's hiding there from her abusive husband, actually brings in, like she has a refrigerator, she has a hot plate, she's got,
a bed with pillows.
Yeah, lots of pillows.
Who doesn't like pillows? No, Lynn, I appreciate that question, though, because I am a slightly OCD curious person. And I was wondering these things, too. Like, I need to know the details. And reading Barbara's book, I started Googling, how does this work? I went down the research rabbit hole. And sometimes they have the bathrooms, they have the showers, like Barbara's saying. But sometimes people are just using sinks and taking, like a sponge bath or whatever, because they can't afford rising rent, the rising cost of living in America. And so it's a tough situation. But Lynn, thank you for that question. Because I was wondering that too. Really. And Barbara, thank you for the answer into the fascinating stuff. Melissa, great question. She would like to know, how did the title come about? Yeah. So let's talk about Metropolis. So of course it's the name of your storage unit, but it's much more meaningful. Give us the scoop, Professor.
So there actually is this big, giant red brick building in Cambridge, right across from MIT, that is a self-storage facility, and it's called Metropolitan Storage Warehouse. So originally, I was going to call it Metropolitan, But then it sounded like, the opera, or there were just all of these other things. And this book is kind of a love story to the city of Boston, where I've lived for many years and that I love very much. So I thought Metropolis is a way of getting, the city part in there and not having it be the actual name of the place, so that I could make stuff up about it. And this is the second. So I've published 9 novels, and this is only the second time that they have let me keep my title. So it must have been a good one, because they didn't try to change. They never even discussed it, which is unheard of.
What was the other book that they let you keep?
The book called Blind Spot.
Blind Spot.
They let me keep, but we went back and forth. They were trying to come up with something better, and then they couldn't get it. But every other book they've changed the title of. I'm supposed to have control over it, but they kind of yeah, but this is the title that's going to sell the book. This is the title that's going to get people to read it. Don't you want this title? No. Don't you want this title? It's a really good title. The sales reps say this is a great title. Fine.
Barbara, this is also, so, and I wanted to go back to while we're still on the title. So you've based it on this red brick storage business near actual MIT, same as the one in your book, changing the real name Metropolitan to Metropolis, so that you could, as you said, made stuff up about it. But your last books, and Lynn being from Philadelphia reminded me of this, also have taken place in let's talk about The Collector's Apprentice at the Barnes Museum in Philadelphia, also a real place. So let's talk about, as a fiction writer, where is that line between what you make up and what is fiction and what is not fiction, and how do you play with that line in your writing?
Yeah, well, it's a very fuzzy line, and different writers play with it differently. In terms of The Collector's Apprentice, what happened there is that I spent a year writing a book about Albert Barnes and Vivian Damasia, who was his assistant. And I sat down and I read the draft, and it was just very stilted. And I realized that I was constraining myself, sticking to the real story. So I ended up changing their names. All the details were still the same, but I changed their names, and that allowed me to make up all the stuff that I wanted to make up to make the story more interesting and the characters more interesting. So, there's no doubt it's the Barnes. There's no, even the names even sound the same. But so that one was for me, because I was holding back. But my past books have fictional characters interacting with real historical characters. And that's kind of fun, because you get the historical characters and, they're having sex with your fictional character. And people are like, well, didn't Mark Rothko's family not like that? Like, what are they not going to like? He's having sex with somebody who doesn't exist.
That is an interesting question there, philosophical question. My brain could really bend in interesting directions to wile that one through. And Nisa would like to know good question, Nisa. Who was the toughest character to write and why, Barbara? Because so you said 10 plot lines, 6 characters. You've also got past and present. Past not as fast as you've previously written about, but let's talk about that.
Well, the most difficult character to write isn't in the book anymore. Originally, Zach, who owns the building and is integral to the whole story and figuring things out, and it's his building. He was originally a middle-aged man with a rough marriage and teenage kids, and he had a master's degree in art history, so he couldn't get get jobs, and he worked as an adjunct and had problems with his wife and all this kind of stuff. And he never like came together as an interesting character, even though he went through the steps of the plot that were interesting. And so very, very late in the game, I said, I'm just going to change him. And I turned him into Zach, who is in his 30s, is an ex-drug dealer. Oh, and the original character was a family thing. That was why he owned it. And he's an ex-drug dealer, and he cleaned his money by buying Metropolis. And he's a wild guy, and he like climbs mountains and goes skydiving, and he's got tons of old girlfriends who he's still friends with. And he became from the most difficult character to write to the easiest character to write.
Wow, that's interesting. So when you rewrote him to the Zach that we currently read, that ended up in the pages in his iteration, he went from the hardest to the easiest.
Yep.
Oh, fascinating. Okay, so Zach is the easiest, and then of the people who are the other 5, who would you say, was there anyone else who was tough?
I think Liddy, who was the wealthy woman, the abused wife. She was, I mean, it's interesting, there's this whole controversy about whether you can write about people who are not like you. And in some ways, not that I'm ultra rich, but in some ways I'm more like her. She's the white woman who's a writer and married with 2 kids who have the same names as my kids. But her motivations were more, she also does coke. Not that I do coke, but there are past adventures.
We're learning a lot about Barbara tonight.
Yeah, right. And I struggled with who she really was and what she would do and why she would do it. And so I changed her. I wrote many, many Liddy drafts. So that's another thing I did with the characters is, I wrote 4 or 5 drafts where they're all interacting and it's linear. And then I pulled each one of them out and just wrote that character straight through to make sure that they were consistent. And I also wanted all the characters to have very different voices, because the book is about class, and it's about how the class you were born into, your parents' socioeconomic level, affects your life chances. So I wanted them all to sound different and be different and come from different places. And so that was actually kind of fun. Liddy was tough. I think by the end I got her. I hope I got her.
It's interesting that the person that you feel is most like you, aside from the abusive husband and the coke habit,
not abusive,
and the coke hobby. Aside from that, you actually found her the hardest, even whereas these other characters, Zach, I mean, clearly you are not a young, you're not a Zach. Fascinating to know that he actually became the easiest for you, and Liddy became the hardest. Anissa, thank you for the great question. Anissa is an amazing bookstagrammer, everybody. She does a lot of big things with friends and fiction. She does really great book reviews, does a ton with authors. Anissa, always a pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us and for your wonderful questions. Melissa's saying she finds it fascinating that the publishers think that they know the best title for you.
Also the cover.
Would you care to share anything about the cover, Barbara?
Yes. Well, theoretically, the author is supposed to have final say on the cover and on the title. But it's all marketing and publicity. And basically they feel that authors write books and they don't know that much about marketing and publicity, which frankly we don't. And so it's run by the marketing and publicity people. And so what happened with the cover of this, they originally, I never like my covers. I'm always like, change this. I'm really kind of a pain in the ass about the covers. But they gave me a cover. So this is my 4th book with my editor there. And she showed me the cover and she said, I'm really nervous. You never like these. And I said, I love this cover. This is just fantastic. I just love it. It was beautiful and so classy, and I just loved it. So they were all excited. Oh, she likes it. Yeah, Barbie likes it. And
Wait, are you called Barbie?
no, there was, you're too young. There used to be this commercial. Mikey likes it. Mikey likes
Okay,
it. Yeah, no, I'm not Barbie. And then they showed it to the sales force, and the sales force said that title doesn't, that cover doesn't tell the reader anything about the book, which it didn't, but it was gorgeous.
Oh, it's not this cover.
It's not this cover. So then they gave me a cover that's similar to that, and I hated it. I said, I don't like it. You know, you gave me this really classy, beautiful literary cover, and now you're giving me one that's, you know, very commercial. And they said, yes, that's why we're doing it. And so I changed, you know, it was originally black and I had red, and I didn't like the people. They originally were old fashioned looking people, and got them to change a bunch of different things, but it's their cover.
This is the one. This is okay, great. Now, Barbie, you mentioned literary versus commercial. So can you tell us a little bit more for everyone watching? What is a literary cover? What is a commercial cover? What do these terms mean?
The terms don't mean anything. They're you know, misunderstood. You know, everybody has a different answer to what is literary and what is commercial. And for me, oh, thank you, Melissa, that you love the cover. A lot of people, I think.
Sharon was saying she also loves it. She said, such an interesting cover. Melissa says she loves it. Sharon says it's interesting. Margaret saying Mikey likes it.
Life cereal. Yeah, she knows. But it's, you know, it's kind of like pornography. You know it when you see it.
We're learning a lot about Barbie tonight. A lot of tea is being spilled here. Oh, and Lisa's saying she thinks it's gorgeous. Yeah, I agree. I love it because I mean, there's a lot here, right? There's the 6 characters here. You have 6 characters. There's the red brick. There's a lot of sort of cute little, I think they call them Easter eggs, like little clues that they leave. So you know, when you go back, Judy's saying she also loves it. Barbara, it seems like it's unanimous. Everyone is loving this cover.
Yeah, people seem to like it. But
yeah, I mean, I will add my voice to that chorus. I love it too.
Well, they were probably right.
For once. Okay, everybody, we have 2 minutes left. So get any last questions for Barbara going in the comments. And Lisa's saying she thinks the cover appears to tell a lot about the book. Barbara, your reply.
So that's what the sales force wanted. They
Do you
wanted
feel that it does?
To, I think it feels, I mean, the thing I didn't like about it is I thought that it felt like, you know, an Agatha Christie mystery, you know, that, you know, there are 6 people in the building and who killed Joe, which it isn't. And, you know, there are some stronger, you know, themes in there. And I was afraid also that people would pick it up thinking it was an Agatha Christie mystery, and it is a mystery, obviously, but you know, it's not that kind of mystery, but it does. I mean, you know, it's true to the book, I guess.
Well, you're getting a lot of hearts up on Facebook. Thank you for all the love, you guys. That's great. And Lisa would like to know, what are you working on next, Barbara? Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I'm well into the next book because it takes time to get these published. Yeah, I'm in my 4th draft, and I usually do about 10. So it also is a mystery. This one, there actually is even a dead body at the end of chapter 1, but it's really about a woman who has multiple personality disorder, and she is an artist, and each of her different personalities do different kinds of art. And she has been arrested for murder, and she says she wasn't there. She didn't do it. She didn't know the guy. And if she has other personalities, maybe she wasn't there and maybe she didn't do it. So it's kind of a legal thriller, mystery, psychological suspense. It's got art therapy in it, it's got a psychologist in it. It's got scenes, a lawyer, there's a lawyer who's the main character. And then there are the fourth personalities that each are their own separate characters. Because, why can't I make it easier for myself?
No. I was just about to say, Barbara, I like how you challenge yourself as a creative. Yeah. I like that you don't just say, okay, I know how to do this and I'm just going to, keep replicating it. You keep challenging yourself as a creative, as an author, as a writer, to try something harder, try something different. Anissa saying she loves a dead body early in a book. Amen. Lynn would like to know, are your books with art themes thrillers or historicals? Let's talk about that.
Yeah, well, they're actually both. The last three, the Art Forger, the Muralist, and the Collector's Apprentice, are very much about art. Each is about, the Art Forger is about Impressionism. The Muralist is about the Expressionists, and the Collector's Apprentice is about the Post-Impressionists. And they go back and forth in time to when these people were working on these works of art. And they have thriller elements in terms of they all have a mystery that people are trying to solve. So when I first wrote The Art Forger, it got turned down by every agent I sent it to. And then when I finally got an agent, it got turned down by every major publisher in New York because they said it didn't fit into a genre, because I don't want to write in a genre, and it was only because I had a very persistent agent and she found the right house for me, Algonquin Books, who are fantastic. And they weren't afraid to take a book that didn't fit into a genre and publish it. And then my life changed.
Which, of course, became Barbara's breakout New York Times bestselling, blowing up every list book. Absolutely fabulous. I loved that book.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing, about that it wasn't just an instant, a cluster of, agents coming at me and, wielding them off. And the same with the publisher, like, thank you for letting us know.
It's very rarely like that. I've written 14 novels, and 9 have been published. 1 will be published, and the other 4 never got published.
Wow. Debbie, welcome to the conversation. Always a pleasure to see you pop up, saying, I loved The Art Forger. Judy clapping for us and sending all the love. Readers gotta read. Hey, girl, good to have you here. And she says, have you really need recent art mystery? Oh, have you read any recent art mysteries that you recommend? Great question.
That is a good question. If only I had a good answer. My mind goes blank when people ask me what I'm reading or what I've read. There was Donna Tartt. I absolutely love that book, but that's not
read that book. I think I'm the only person who hasn't.
You haven't read that book? Oh, it's fantastic.
I have not read that book.
A lot of people thought it was too long, but I loved every word of it.
I like a long book. I like big books, and I cannot lie.
I like big books too.
Yeah, because I want to get into that. I want the meat of that. Well, how about we do this, Barbara? If you maybe you could share a list of books, on your social media or something, a recommendation that will give you time to think. I can never think on that.
I actually do have a list. You want me to get my file and give you the list, or I can post the writers that I like the most because people ask me that question, and the books I like the most because people ask me that question, and I never remember my mind just goes blank.
I
But
totally understand.
I could post my recent favorite authors and favorite books.
Let's do that. Let's do that. So readers got to read. Thank you for the fabulous question. And Barbara, thank you for sharing your secret list. And our last question is coming from Lynn. She would like to know, did you read The Last Mona Lisa? I haven't even heard of that. I must live under a rock. Lynn, tell us what you think of it. I have not read this. Barbara has not read it. Let us know what you think about it. Y'all, Barbara's book is out tomorrow. Her 9th book. Congratulations. Metropolis is out tomorrow. So I'm going to post the link in the comments. So pre-order tonight. And the good folks at Murder by the Book will send it out to you tomorrow. So I'm going to pop the link in the comments. Support our favorite woman-owned independent bookstore.
I've been there. I've been there with some of my early novels long ago. Time ago.
Anissa's saying, thank you, ladies. Donna's saying that she's sad that books have to fit in a single genre, but subgenres are allowed.
Yeah,
right?
but they subgenres are fine, but they don't like it when they can't. I mean, they want, when they go to sell the books, they're selling to libraries and to bookstores, and they need to know where to put it on the shelf. And that's why this has happened. The genres, it's just a lot easier to be able to say this book is psychological suspense, this book is historical, this book is a thriller, this book is literary. So do we have time for a funny story?
We always have time for a funny story. I just want to say Donna is saying she adores our books, by the way, and thank you for your writing. Lynn saying The Last Mona Lisa was great. It was based on the actual theft of the painting in 1911. Readers got to read saying she wanted to know if you read any. I knew what you mean. I gotcha. Barbara, give us your funny story.
So, of course, now, what was my funny story? It was about genres. So when the Art Forger first came out, Algonquin called it a literary thriller. And in those days, I actually checked on Amazon to see what people were saying. Now I don't do that anymore. But so in the same day, I got 2 one-star reviews. And one said, "This isn't a thriller. Nobody dies." And the other one said, "This isn't literary. The main character says awesome." So, you can't win. You can't win.
You can't win for losing, but you can make a lot of readers happy. And that is what you do. Barbara, congratulations on your 9th book out tomorrow. Donna is laughing along with us. Donna, thank you for that. Readers got to read saying she just saw it in her library catalog today. Yay. Thumbs up on that. Y'all, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Barbara, thank you for spending your special pre-launch evening with us. What a pleasure to get a scoop on Metropolis. Happy pub day tomorrow.
Thank you.
And y'all, I will see you next Monday for #Mystery Monday, because Mondays can be murder. Have a great night.